Hi, I'm Joe Sorge, and welcome to the Family Law Report, where we examine the problems and challenges facing our family law system. This is part 4 in our series with Susan Settenbrino covering judicial bias and corruption. So what recourse do we have when we encounter a biased judge? Isn't that why we have appeals courts?
Well, I talk about that a lot in my book. You don't have appeals, because let me tell you what you have. And let me tell you, the appellate judges also have to get reelected. And they also came from the same cloth, and they also rose the same way. And there could be a camaraderie. There could be a lot of things. But let me tell you why you don't have an appeal, even if you had the best judges on the appellate level. Let's talk why. Because you have to survive. You go into a courthouse, you're going because you need intervention, whether it's monetary, your kids, your life, and you're going into this courthouse. Your whole court case is derailed. Your whole life is derailed. Your finances are, depleted. Most people can't survive that to get to the appellate level. And let me tell you what's wrong about that whole concept. This is what's dangerous. If a judge is sitting on the bench and abusing his power and violating the Code of Judicial Conduct, I have a right then and there to say, do something. We need oversight. Get this judge off the bench and get somebody in here who knows what they're doing and let me have my day in court. Why should I and my client have to go through an appellate process for hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands or millions of dollars to correct judicial misconduct? That is not what it's about. You're supposed to be, the appellate process is to correct mistakes or errors of law created by a judge who was acting in good faith, engaging in proper conduct, and was neutral.
Doesn't the government give you your money back, make you whole when you win an appeal?
First of all, winning an appeal. Let's talk about winning an appeal. What do you win? If you get a sliver of something that you're asking for and they send it back to the court to decide that, you haven't won. Does the government pay you? There are no consequences to the judges. There's no retribution for the litigants. And attorneys don't want to go, a good attorney doesn't want to go through this process, doesn't want to earn legal fees this way if they even get paid. Even in the best cases, the appellate level is supposed to deal with the law. They don't address the facts. If you have a judge who's engaging in intellectual dishonesty and the facts are false, the appellate level, even in the best of circumstances, is not going to get involved.
What about the oversight committees? Aren't they supposed to respond to complaints and discipline bad judges?
We have state-funded offices in the millions, I guess across the country in the billions probably. They're supposed to police the judges and they're supposed to police the attorneys. And let me tell you something, you pointed out in your documentary that, nothing ever happens if a lawyer engages in fraudulent, litigation, and nothing ever happens to stop this abusive process. Well, let me tell you that the laws are there. These are the pillars, the ethics committee for the lawyers and the ethics committee for the judges. They are the pillars. They're supposed to make everything right. You are supposed to be able to go to the ethics committee and say, this attorney has engaged in this misconduct. And all the rules are there. If they've made fraudulent claims, if they've engaged in frivolous motions, okay? And the same thing with the judges. But in a politicized system, if the people at the helm of these offices are ensuring that they're run politically, these offices will protect and they will target and they will further promote and enable the misconduct and even corruption in the courthouses.
So you're saying the foxes are guarding the henhouse?
There's a whole system here that's malfunctioning, that's dangerous, and that lacks oversight. And there's nobody home. There's no police home. There's no attorney general. There's no DA. There's no governor. There's nobody here to address it. They're all part of the same political machine. And the only people who are suffering is us, the public. And we need to change it. Yeah.
What's the motive here? Who's pulling the strings and what do they have to gain?
Well, you're the one who made a fabulous documentary and said it's a $50 billion a year industry just in family law alone. Well, there are other areas of the law as well. You're talking about billions of dollars nationwide, just in the judiciary budget and how it's disseminated. And how do we know where all the funds are going? Where's the accounting of these budgets? Why? Because they create their own subjective reports? How do we know? It's their subjective reports. If the judiciary is acting outside the scope of their office, if they're engaging in questionable conduct, if that is what's going on, we need to have an entity that has oversight.
I've heard people say that we can't control the judiciary because of the separation of government into 3 independent branches. Aren't they supposed to have this level of autonomy?
Well, let's just start with what you said, because we do not have 3 branches operating. I just said they're all from the same political machine. So we have the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary, all interdependent for the career development and survival through this political machine. So there is no independence, if you ask me, and if you look at the facts, it doesn't seem to be any independence. There are rules out there that can be utilized, but I don't believe that we are barred from creating these changes constitutionally. I don't believe that we are barred from seeking reform and oversight and transparency in our courtrooms, but nobody's willing to do it, not because they can't do it, but because they're all part of the same political machine.
So do you think we can do anything about this?
We have the power, the people. We're the ones who can change it. We can make sure that we demand reform. If we start applying this oversight and exposing it for what it is, that's how you'll get reform.
So what I'm hearing is that we have to stop voting for judges just because they're Democrats or Republicans, and we have to hold our other elected officials accountable to institute effective oversight of our courts, such as your database that tracks the decision of each judge. In that way, we'll be able to see if they're showing favoritism toward any law firm or company or class of people and vote them out of office. I also personally think that judges should have term limits and should be prohibited from practicing law for at least 3 years after serving as a judge, to avoid temptation that they'll start favoring a law firm that is likely to hire them at the end of their term. Well, Susan, you're very brave to speak out and to write your book, Unchecked Power. We need more people like you who are not afraid to point out weaknesses in our system, because it's the only way it will be improved for the benefit of the people.
Thank you very much.
I'm Joe Sorge, and this is the Family Law Report. Thank you.